Hello, Saints. Each week here for the rest of the quarter, I'm going to hit on this week's Sabbath School lesson. We're studying the three angels' messages. And this week here is called A City of Confusion, is the lesson for March 27th. So as you prepare for this week, think about a couple points that I want to bring out. The lesson is called A City Called Confusion. It's really, we're dealing with the second angel's message here. And of course, we all know that Babylon means confusion, right? Actually, no. Babylon is the Greek form of the word Babel, which is the Hebrew version of the Mesopotamian Babalu, which is the gate of Elu, the god of the Mesopotamians. Or El is the word for God in Hebrew, the Canaanite god. Babel would be gate of God. And that's what Babel or Babylon means, the gate of God. The problem was in Genesis 11 is when all the nations gathered to build the Tower of Babel and to build the city, they weren't putting God's name into the world. They did it to make a name for themselves. And so God confused their language. Now, Hebrews love puns. They like the word plays. And so they referred to the Tower of Babel, and they used a word very similar to it in Hebrew to denote confusion. So what was to be the gate of God ends up becoming confusion. But when you see the word Babylon or Babel, it actually means gate of God or door of God. And this is, but this is the corruption that we see going on. In this week's lesson, we deal with the second angel's message. It simply reads, and another angel followed, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Now, this is interesting because we got Babylon mentioned here for the first time in the book of Revelation, denoting the kingdoms that are against God, and it's already falling. And what it is that as it gives way to what God is doing as he's moving into this world to take it back, God's kingdom now is triumphant. After all these thousands of years, God is now stepping in, and he's taking over. This second angel's message is kind of like an appendix to the second part of the first angel's message. Fear God and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment has come. God is moving in, and Satan's kingdom has to give way. And so we see here this battle at the end between two nations, between two systems of beliefs, and that Satan wants to get ahead. He wants to be the one left standing. But we of course know that's not going to be so. His kingdom will give way. And so the whole issue is about worship. Who will you worship? This is the age-old worship question. It's not something that takes place at the end. This has been asked across time. When Adam and Eve sinned, ate that fruit, they put themselves in the center, removed God. In other words, they kind of made themselves God. Instead of reflecting God's image, they begin to reflect their own image into the world. And this has got to change. If sin is going to be eradicated and we're going to be restored the way God had intended us to be. And so the question, who will you worship? And as God's kingdom is moving in, Satan's kingdom is fighting to hold on. And so we see this tension. The memory text is Revelation 17:14. It says, these will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who are with him are called chosen and faithful. I want to bring you to another text there in chapter 13. This is the sea beast and the land beast. This is the allies to Satan who are going to try to take over the world. And there in chapter 13, verse 6, we read a parallel text where it says, then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, that is those who dwell in heaven. The tabernacle of Christ is you and me, and his war is against the Lamb and his church, his tabernacle. And so the battle is on. Who will you worship? And so this lesson here, as we talk about the city of confusion, we see that Babylon will get its just in as God's kingdom comes in to take over. Enjoy the lesson. Blessings.